The title says it all. The Last of Us franchise has become the benchmark of video games for me. Whatever new game I play or older games that I replay, I instinctually compare it to this franchise. In every pillar by which I evaluate a particular video game, for me The Last of Us does it all best. And it is not best in the true sense of the word. This is what I will explain in this video. Let me take you back to June 19, 2020, which was Last of Us Part 2's release date and also the day I played it for the first time. And trust me on this, for the next 3 months or so, I had difficulty enjoying other games. In those 3 months, I have beaten Part 2 4 times, again and again, and also played Part 1 to understand the story better. It was such an experience that initiated varying feelings in me, starting with hatred, resulting from Joel's death, then acceptance, watching Abby's side of the story, and ending with disappointment, seeing the fall of Ellie in front of my very eyes. No game has generated this degree of any sort of emotion within me like this franchise. Now, you might be saying, is this only a video on Part 2? Trust me, it is not. For me, Part 2 and Part 1 intertwine, and they are nothing without each other. Part 2 has absolutely no leg to stand on regarding its narrative without the existence of Part 1. And Part 1 feels like an incomplete story without Part 2. You needed 7 years of fandom and worshipping of Joel for his death scene to have any sort of impact. You needed 7 years of love and care towards Ellie for the flashbacks and eventually the ending to have any influence. Some of Part 2's best moments are the flashbacks, and it's these flashbacks that remind you how much you love these characters. It reminds you how much damage Part 1 has done on you. No other video game franchise has characters this strong across the board, in my opinion. How they keep you awake at night. I'm not kidding. I had difficulty sleeping after beating The Last of Us Part 2. In this scene, when Joel says, if somehow the Lord give me one more chance at that moment, I'll do it all over again. I can't stop the tears leaving my eyes. I play so many games, but none of them even comes close to having the level of emotional influence this franchise has on me. And that is just the story and the characters. What elevates it is the visual quality and the presentation. Look at these cutscenes. How impressive they look, how amazingly they're voice acted and directed. It is state of the art and turns these characters into real people. Even games that come out in 2025 are not even close to matching how impressive it is. I understand that a lot of people's exposure to this franchise is through the television series, but the games are just better in my opinion. They're so much better. You get lost in the eyes and the voice of these characters. You get lost in the conversation. You get lost in this bond between Joel and Ellie. I think there are more pleasing to the eyes cutscenes in video games nowadays, but there's this flatness as well that is absent in Naughty Dog's magnum opus. Isn't it weird that I never skip the cutscenes in these games? Keeping aside the cutscenes, even the gameplay moment to moment is one of a kind. Let me give you a simple example. In LA Seattle Day 2, when you are on your way towards the hospital, this particular, almost empty location has so much personality to it. I've played through this so many times, but I still feel excited to kill the clickers and the runners who are hiding inside that particular bar. And I don't even sprint even in my replays. I walk, I look around, and just take in all its beauty. I know that there is a cat that will eventually cross my path here, but I want to see it again and again. Even after beating this story half a dozen times, I want to see it all and not skip anything. Same applies for Bill's Town in Part 1. I just look around taking it all in. In every replay, I visit the music store here, which is optional. In every replay, I stand on top of this vehicle and take a photo mode shot facing the flare. Or at the very first horse ride as Joel in Part 2 is so special to me, with this beautiful music in the background. That's how impressively Naughty Dog realized this post-apocalyptic world of The Last of Us. These moments I just mentioned are insignificant and unimportant in 90% of the games that I play. But here it is special because of all the tiny and minute details that surround it. It is subtle and fluid. Just moving the characters around is so satisfying. It is this above and beyond approach of Naughty Dog that is unparalleled and can rarely be seen in video games nowadays. This is exactly the reason why I'm excited for Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. It is not my type of game, but I still can't wait to play it. because I know Naughty Dog will absolutely nail the aforementioned things I just talked about. Same applies for combat. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The Last of Us Part 2 has one of the best gameplay in any video game, which is one of the shocking revelations for me when I played it for the first time. There's very little to separate between the combat of Part 1 and Part 2, but they have made the correct improvements that stays true to what made Part 1's combat so compelling and adds this special Naughty Dog sauce to it. From an objective standpoint, Part 2's gameplay mechanically is pretty average when you compare it to something like Santa Monica's newer God of War games, but it's that special sauce. I don't think it has very deep and fleshed out mechanics, but everything that surrounds this combat is amazing. The cinematic flair, crazy fluid and lifelike animations, outstanding level design, the gore system, and state-of-the-art enemy AI. All of this combined makes it such a special gameplay package. It is so dynamic, and you will get something different and unique out of it every other time. And I want to appreciate the new no return mode that they added with the PS5 remastered. This is exactly the reason why I always keep this game installed on the PS5. Once in a while, I'll go in for a run. There's this roughness and inconsistency to the gameplay, and that weirdly fits into the type of war The Last of Us is. Not to mention just how masterfully they infuse these gameplay systems into big set-piece moments, something they have learned from the Uncharted series over the years. I always say this, even though I love both these games, Part 2 for me is my favorite game of all time, and it is the gameplay that does much of the heavy lifting in that decision. These are the reasons why The Last of Us games have a special place in my heart, and it taints every other video game for me one way or the other. If you guys have watched my retrospective on both Part 2 and Part 1, one of the common complaints of those videos is that I'm not critical enough. The problem is, I can't be critical. I just love these games so much and have difficulty trying to find their flaws. I truly find both games to be 10 out of 10 masterpiece video games, but you have to look at them from an interweave perspective. You have to accept that this is a story being told to you, and you have no control over it. This franchise is an emotional roller coaster. Neil Druckmann, in a recent interview, clarified how there is very little chance of a part 3 of this story and how it has stirred debate around the community. I personally think we will eventually see part 3. Neil Druckmann is surely playing devil's advocate here, but before part 3, we have many other replays of part 1 and 2 left and a lot to speculate, and I'm content and excited to do so. Are you a fan of The Last of Us games? Let me know in the comments below. Are you excited for season 2 of the HBO show this month? Let me know as well. And many of you wanted to see me do a retrospective of Left Behind DLC. I'll do it soon, I promise. That's it from me today. Rakzplayz signing off.